is a new war.
We stand and we fight.
Beverage is more powerful than any of us.
Malaria ni ugonjwa hatari sana unaoua watu wengi hapa Kenya. Japo kuko na corona, hatari ya malaria bado iko. Mtoto huyu alikuwa na joto jingi, kutetemeka, kuumwa na viungo na uchovu. Alikimbizwa hospitali ya umma ambako sheria za COVID-19 huzingatiwa na ni salama kwa shughuli ya upimaji. Vipimo vilionyesha kuwa ana malaria na papo hapo daktari akampa dawa za malaria na kumshauri azimalize, na ili kujikinga wawe wakilala ndani ya neti iliyotibiwa. Malaria husambazwa na mbu. Walio hatarini ni watoto wa chini ya miaka 5 na akina mama wajawazito. Kupimwa na kutibiwa ni bure katika hospitali zote za umma. Usisahau adui malaria. Zero malaria huanza na mimi. Chukua jukumu leo. Komesha malaria. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na Wizara ya Afya.
Well, good evening and thank you for joining us for today's edition of Channel One Weekend with me, Richard Munga. Sign language is by Ronabuli. Of course, 13th of February is the day, the 44th day of the year, so 321 more to go. And once again, thank you for joining us. A lot in store for you. We have politics and later on we have some sports news, of course, for the sports lovers. But before we get underway with the bulletin and the main stories, let's have a look at the news highlights.
Going forward, there is absolutely no contest, and I respect the decision of the president, and the president calls the shots.
I am not the enemy within. Deputy President William Ruto says he is firmly in support of the government's development agenda, faults the opposition for sowing seeds of discord in government. Safer is fun. Kenya joins the world in marking World Condom Day amid calls to promote correct and consistent use of condoms. And celebrating the radio journey, World Radio Day marked under the theme New World, New Radio. Let's get underway with a top story today, whereby Deputy President William Ruto says he is firmly in support of the government's development agenda. Ruto has dismissed claims that he is leading an internal revolt against progress in government, saying he is part and parcel of Jubilee administration's scorecard. The Deputy President has instead accused the opposition of sowing mistrust in the ruling party.
Deputy President William Ruto has moved to distance himself from claims that he may be part of a disgruntled group of officials dragging the government's development scorecard in the mud.
Mheshimiwa Rais na mimi tulienda kuomba kura kwa pamoja, ndio tukaunda serikali ya Jubilee. Na mimi nimemheshimu rais sana. Yeye ndiye mwenye kusema kwa hii serikali, na sijawahi kusema kinyume ya rais kwa sababu ya heshima.
Ruto has instead blamed the discord being witnessed within the ruling party on interference by the opposition.
Mimi nataka niwaambie hawa wangwana wa upinzani wa zamani, kwa sababu sasa hawajulikani wako upinzani ama wako kwa serikali. Mimi nataka niwaambie wawache kuja kutuletea kisirani na wawache kuja kutuletea makasiriko.
Ruto and his political allies have been reading from a different script in the ongoing push for constitutional review.
Maneno ya BBI ashasema ya kwamba hii BBI ni ya wananchi, si ndio? Na sisi wananchi tumekataa. Ni kweli ama ni urongo?
This even as Garissa Township Member of Parliament Adan Duale urged the president and his deputy to bury the hatchet and work together for the sake of the stability of the country.
Malumbano ya chama ya Jubilee imethuru maisha ya watu wa Kenya. Mimi ningeomba Rais Uhuru Kenyatta na William Ruto 2022 sisi tutajua vile tutafanya. Lakini kwa sasa we are asking you to sit down like gentlemen and sort out your differences once and for all.
Meanwhile, a section of leaders from the Western region has urged MCAs from the 5 counties in the region to pass the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill of 2020.
I am here in solidarity and to plead with you as our county assemblies that we are good to go. Let us stand together. The verdict and recommendation now is that we should support the referendum amendment bill.
And as the Machakos senatorial race gains momentum, Wiper Party's candidate Agnes Kavindu has decried what she terms as intimidation.
FIDA nyinyi ni watetezi wa kina mama na nimetukana na sijasikia sauti yenu. FIDA mko wapi na mnafanya nini? Wanawake wale mko mbungeni, mko wapi na mnafanya nini? Inukeni mtetee wa mama.
Meanwhile, Narok North Member of Parliament Richard Moitalel has cautioned Kenyans against being used by the political class to cause violence in the country. The lawmaker accused some area politicians of plotting to disrupt the visit of the ODM leader Raila Odinga to Narok on Sunday.
Hatutaki mtu yeyote alete siasa ya kututanganisha au siasa ambayo haina msingi, kama siasa ya utoto, kama siasa ya kuja kuonesha kwamba watu wanaweza kupinga wengine.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Zafin Aching Oma.
Meanwhile, Kenya joined the world in marking World AIDS Day amid calls for a candid conversation on sexual reproductive health care among the youth. Parents have been challenged to have a conversation with their children on reproductive health care if the war on HIV is to be won. Beatrice Gatonye with the details.
The National World Condoms Day celebrations took place in Taita Taveta County. Hundreds gathered for the event whose theme was Safer is Fun. And they did not shy away from openly sharing the message of correct and consistent use of condoms.
Tunajua vijana wamekuwa na changamoto nyingi. Jambo la kwanza ni kuwa kwa sababu wako katika ule umri ambao hawataki kutokea, hawataki kwenda kupimwa. Tukiangalia kupimwa katika wale vijana bado iko chini. Tunajua kuwa kulingana na takwimu zile tuko nazo, jambo la kwanza ni kuwa karibu 50% hao hawajajiingiza kwa mambo ya ngono za mapema.
The event was characterized by calls for the youth to know their HIV status. Parents were also challenged to engage their children on reproductive health care to avoid misinformation.
The challenge we're having is that it's very difficult for the country because this discussion must start from home, where the kids who are sitting down with their parents need to start open discussion, especially on sexual reproductive health, because that is where the problem is.
Separately, a non-governmental organization was holding a similar event in Makueni County. Here, they distributed over 60,000 condoms to residents to protect themselves against HIV, STIs, and unplanned pregnancies. The condom distribution exercise took place along the busy Mombasa-Nairobi highway, where locals were also encouraged to get tested for HIV. This even as young people called on the government to make free condoms available to Kenyans and increase sensitization of the use of condoms among the youth.
It is a good idea for the government to give free condoms because we have some other cases, mostly like in rural areas. We have those people who cannot afford to buy a condom because condoms are very expensive in one way. Because the condom is being sold at 100. There is another one for 200, 250. So you see, they're going with the type of condom you buy. So you may find those people cannot afford condoms.
Use condoms if you have to. Remember, it's your life, so the more protection you use, the better. If you have to do whatever you have to do. But the most important thing is you need to be, to abstain up to that time when you feel now this is the right time for me to.
Stigmatization pia iko ukiona msee akichukua condoms kuziweza weird about sex. So we, even us, now the generation that was there when condoms were being sensitized well, tunaweza sema bado haijatushika vizuri. But again, condoms should be used.
When I go to a chemist, a shop, supermarket, going to buy a condom, it seemed like, oh, she loves sex, he loves sex. So I feel like there's still the stigma. So when a government inaweka in government institutions, it's good. At least there's some privacy you'll take.
According to the Kenya AIDS Strategic Framework 2020 to 2021 to 2024 to 2025, about 1.5 million people are living with HIV in Kenya, and the main mode of HIV transmission in the country is through sexual contact and accounts for 80% of all new HIV infections. Adolescents and young people aged between 15 to 29 years account for 61% of adult new HIV infections. Beatrice Getonyenge-Tich, Channel 1 News.
Oh, actually, apologies for that. It is International Condom Day. World AIDS Day is commemorated on 1st December, which technically will be on a Wednesday in 2021. Now, still on health matters, doctors are calling for unrestricted involvement of healthcare workers in Kenya's COVID-19 vaccine process. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentist Union says there is still not enough evidence that the government is committed to placing medics at the crux of things ahead of the vaccine rollout. KMPDU has in the meantime called for a speedy solution to ongoing industrial tiffs between the government and healthcare workers.
With the government having confirmed that the first consignment of the much-awaited COVID-19 vaccine will be in the country by the end of this month, doctors are feeling left out in the process. The doctors said it would be counterproductive to have the vaccines, but with no one to administer the jobs.
We'd like to urge the Ministry of Health on that specific matter of vaccines, that without involvement of healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, clinical officers, all other healthcare workers, getting Kenyans to accept the vaccine and even healthcare workers is going to be a tough challenge.
The doctors spoke even as a section of nurses at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital spent the night in the cold after they were allegedly thrown out of their quarters.
With a letter to serve me that I've been dismissed. The letter they were having, they told me that it came from the Chief Officer Health, Kisii County, that was requesting that I leave the house, I vacate the house and look for somewhere to go. I'm not needed anywhere within the compound. To my surprise, I had not received any letter of dismissal. So when I told the officers that I had not received, they told me that they were told that I had received.
Kenya Union of Nurses Kisii branch has castigated the move, terming it as criminal.
Sasa ni ile watu wamepewa barua jana jioni kabisa. Eti kama wewe unakaa nyumba ya serikali utoke uende. Kama uko na gari ya serikali upeane immediately. Na hizi nyumba unajua sheria iko. Nyumba unastahili kupewa muda wa miezi 3 ujipange utoke. Iwe ya mwenyewe ama iwe ya serikali.
Nurses and clinical officers have been on strike for 2 months now, with no indication that the strike may end anytime soon. The strike has greatly impacted health services in public hospitals across the country. The health workers went on strike end of last year to push for safer working environment. Caroline Kamar reporting for Channel 1 News.
Now, maybe moving on to other matters, the media fraternity has commemorated the World Radio Day by highlighting the services rendered by the radio medium throughout in the coronavirus pandemic. Under the theme, New World, New Radio, the day was also used to highlight the resilience of radio, its evolution and constant adaptation for over a century to societal changes. Channel 1 reporter Serafina Robi spent the day with one of Kenya's best-known authors and journalists, Munga, to best understand the importance of dynamism in the fast-paced world of radio journalism.
Taarifa ya habari ya Radio Taifa, sauti ya Mkenya.
It's Saturday morning on KBC's Radio Taifa.
Mtajia nomino ya makundi ndio nomino ya jamii. Kipeto cha barua. Kipeto cha barua. Safi baba, umepata.
We meet Matthews Momanyi, better known as Double Aim, to his legion of fans.
Tunasherehekea pia siku ya ulimwengu mzima wa habari hasa katika radio.
Every Saturday morning, Matthews hosts an educative Swahili program where he invites a wide range of guests for an interactive engagement on subjects of mutual interests. For more than a decade, Matthew's love for radio has continued to grow.
Ualimu umezaa wanahabari. Kupitia ualimu nilipata fursa ya kufanya vipindi vya Kiswahili. Mzee wetu Martin Kingasia, tulikuwa na kina Jaco Sylvester ambaye amekwisha staafu, tumekuwa kina Jona Ngari. So tukapata kizazi kipya.
Matthews is not only a radio journalist, he has authored 23 Swahili books, which have been approved by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development for primary schools, and is still working on a series of course books.
Na ubora wake nilipokuwa nikiandika, nilikuwa nauliza Mwenyezi Mungu, vipi ni siri gani kitabu kiliidhinishwa katika taasisi? Nikawa nimeshirikiana na rafiki yangu anaitwa Yahya Mutuku. Tukaandika pamoja kitabu hiki na natumai kitakuwa na manufaa makubwa kwa mtazamaji wetu. Kuna wanafunzi wako katika shule zetu mbalimbali.
Matthews is a product of an industry that has transformed over the years, churning out veterans whose legacies continue to inspire upcoming journalists and seasoned journalists alike.
Kwa hivyo mimi ningefurahi sana kuona kwamba tuadhimisha leo siku ya redio ulimwenguni. Wale ambao wanashughulika na vipindi, wale ambao wanashughulika na habari, wajitolee kutoa habari za ukweli, habari nzuri, vipindi vizuri, muziki mzuri na kadhalika.
The 10th edition of World Radio Day comes at a time the globe is grappling with the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization is using the 10th World Day to highlight the services rendered by the radio medium through the global crisis. As we celebrate World Radio Day on the 13th of February, it's the hope and aim of many radio presenters, pioneers, and even listeners that radio gets better each day. For Channel 1 News, I'm Serafina Robi.
Quite an interesting piece right there by Serafina Robi. And of course, to my fellow broadcasters in radio, I really do hope that indeed you enjoyed commemorating World Radio Day. Now, let's move on to other matters whereby the country's COVID-19 infection rate stood at 4% on Saturday, with 179 new infections being reported from a sample size of 4,423. The death toll increased marginally, with one more person succumbing to the virus. The latest figures come as the World Health Organization is reporting a decline in the number of reported COVID-19 cases globally for the fourth week in a row.
The country reported number of COVID-19 cases stood at 102,792 on Saturday, after 179 new cases were confirmed. 79 patients made a full recovery both from hospital and home-based care, pushing the total number of recoveries to 84,952. One more patient, however, died, pushing the total number of fatalities to 1,795. Currently, 345 patients are in hospital, with 32 admitted in the intensive care unit. Another 1,271 are receiving treatment at home. The latest figures coming as the World Health Organization is reporting a decline in the number of reported COVID-19 cases globally for the 4th week in a row. The number of deaths is also reported to have fallen for the 2nd consecutive week. WHO is calling for continuous adherence to the COVID-19 measures through individual responsibility, cautioning countries against letting their guard down.
These declines appear to be due to countries implementing public health measures more stringently. We should all be encouraged, but complacency is as dangerous as the virus itself. Now is not the time for any country to relax measures or for any individual to let down their guard.
At the same time, they are pushing for an increase in vaccine manufacturing.
How quickly we can collectively expand vaccine manufacturing and roll out vaccines to all countries will determine how soon we can control this pandemic.
Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
Also, the National Assembly Committee on Lands is calling for an increase in budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Land to tackle the problem of land encroachment. The committee, through its chairperson, Rachel Nyamai, says digitization of land documents will help in reducing incidences of land grabbing. At the same time, they expressed concerns over the recent demolitions, calling for a humane manner in relocating those occupying public land.
The land question remains a thorny issue as government steps up efforts to improve processes through digitization to ensure issues of double allocation and land grabbing are dealt with conclusively. The National Assembly Committee on Lands was in Mombasa, where they called for additional funding to the Lands Ministry to improve processes.
If you look at the kind of work that this ministry is doing, we feel that 6 billion is quite low. That this is a ministry that you'll find in all parts of the country, even after devolution of parts of the land matters, you realize that it has staff all in the 47 counties, and we can see you'll find that there is a lot of adjudication going on all over the country. We are able to look at which parts of the country have been adjudicated and what is remaining, and we feel that this ministry needs to be expanded.
The committee at the same time has cautioned squatters against attempts to grab land and demand titles.
We've realized that the ministry has put a lot of effort with regard to settlement, but there is generally a challenge that, and members of parliament from the coast would attest to it, where we feel that we are seeing more and more squatters, and the ministry is doing a lot. And we have tasked the ministry to ensure that those who have benefited from settlement schemes do not present themselves as also squatters again. And as they called it, it's like some people become professional squatters, where they benefit from this county and then you see them in the next county.
Ganze Member of Parliament Teddy Mwambire reiterated that title deeds for a section of settlement schemes in the Coast region will be ready in 6 months' time.
Kufikia mwezi wa 6, kuna baadhi ya vyeti vitakuwa viko tayari, na kuna masuala nyeti ambayo tunayashughulikia kama masuala ya Mazuriland, kama masuala ya kule Kagaa, na masuala mengineyo ambayo yanashughulikiwa kwa sasa. Kwa hivyo tunangojea majibu kamili, ambayo majibu kamili kwetu ni kwamba hata baada ya serikali imenunua ile ardhi ili kuweza kupatia watu waweze kuishi sawasawa, ni lazima pia watu wapatiwe vyeti.
Meanwhile, members of the committee have condemned the recent forceful evictions and demolitions witnessed across the country.
Hakuna sheria ambayo inasema kwamba kuja funja nyumba hii ambayo pengine mtu amekaa katika miaka 10, 12, 15 alafu inaingiliwa tu na tingatinga, alafu anaanza hata kubomoa mali ya watu. Kuna sheria ambaye yuko na tayari hata mswada hiyo tumepitisha kwa bunge. Hatutakubaliana tu katika mambo kama hayo ambaye unakuja unanyenyesa wa Kenya.
For Channel 1 News, our weekend from Mombasa County, I am Anne Boru.
And Deputy President William Ruto's ICC lawyer Karim Khan has been elected the new chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court. Khan was voted in by 72 member states out of 131 in an election held at the UN headquarters in New York. Karim Khan replaces Fatou Bensouda, who was sanctioned by the United States of America.
50-year-old British lawyer Karim Khan beat candidates from Ireland, Spain and Italy to win on a second round of voting with support from 72 nations, 10 more than the 62 needed. 131 member states participated in the election held at the UN in New York. The first task of the third prosecutor will be to secure more convictions and increase the court's legitimacy among the many member states that refuse to recognize its jurisdiction, including the US, Russia and China. The court has also faced skepticism in Africa as leaders from the continent have increasingly become sole focus of the Hague-based court. Karim had not originally been on the shortlist for the post and was added partly at the insistence of the Kenyan government. Karim acted as defense counsel for Deputy President William Ruto when he was charged with crimes against humanity following post-election violence in 2007. Karim Khan was called to the English bar in 1992 and has promised to reform the prosecutor's office to make it more efficient. He was appointed to lead the UN team investigating international crimes committed by ISIS in 2018 by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
Now, the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020 has proposed amendment of Chapter 6 of the Constitution to strengthen the fight against corruption. The proposal aims at providing a mechanism for expeditious conduct of investigation, prosecution and trial of corruption-related matters. Kevin Washira with the details.
The Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 proposes amendments to Article 80 of the Constitution, which requires Parliament to enact legislation establishing mechanisms to facilitate expeditious investigation, prosecution and trial of cases relating to corruption and integrity to achieve speedy disposal of such matters. Currently, corruption-related cases take years or decades to prosecute. However, under the proposed changes, court cases involving corruption should be concluded within 2 years. In the amendment proposed to Section 3 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act 2003, it will be a crime to aid, abet, or be an accessory to any act of corruption or economic crime. The proposal requires that anyone with information on corruption or economic crimes report it to the Anti-Corruption Commission or face a fine of up to 5 million shillings or imprisonment of a term not exceeding 5 years or both. Among other proposals contained in the bill are stiffer sentences and punitive fines for all those found culpable of corruption. Other measures proposed include protection of whistleblowers and restricting public officers from conducting any business with the government. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
It is said that when life gives you a lemon, you should turn it into lemonade. In this case, Jadida Kanana was given a mountain of trash that she chose to turn into cash. Today, she's earning a living by collecting and selling garbage, challenging youths to source for opportunities around them. Jacqueline Wambiru with details of how Kanana is making a living through garbage collection.
The break of dawn signifies the start of yet another day for Jadida Kanana. Kanana is in the business of turning garbage into profit. A trade she began 7 years ago after months of job searching with little success. Her place of trade is Makutano Shopping Center in Meru. For some, the mountain of garbage would seem worthless, but for her, it translates to her daily bread.
Watu wengi waoni kama ni kazi, wanaidharau sana. Because most of them wamekuwa hata wakiniita chokora. Nafanya kazi ambayo inafanywa na chokora, but nafurahia shauri hii kazi yangu, nimeajiri watu na hata hao vijana wanapata kitu ya kukula, kunao wanasomesha watoto wao.
She sees through the trash with the help of street children who also eke a living from the trade. She pays them per kilogram of plastic that they deliver to her.
Wanaokota, wanalete hapa, wanapata riziki.
Tunakuja tunauza hapa. Wale wanajilipia nyumba, tunajilipia, tunakula kuhusiana na hizi vitu unaona hii.
She then turns the plastic into reusable products. She says it is a passion that is born out of the need to conserve the environment as well as earn a living.
Napenda kuona environment ikiwa safi. Tunaendanga tukiokota, nikipata karatasi ama vijana wakipata, tunakusanya, tunaweka hapa, tunaosha, tunasiaga. Then tunapeana ifanye kazi ingine.
The waste materials comprising of used plastic, aluminum cans, used cartons, electronic waste among others is first sorted, then crushed into small pieces using a machine. She then packs it into sacks and sells it to local manufacturers who recycle them and manufacture new plastic items like plastic cans. Kanana urges Kenyans to seize available opportunities so as to create employment for themselves and others.
Plastic, wanaenda wanatumia hiyo plastic tena kujenga plastic nyingine kama mitungi, kibuyu, jug, hizo mitungi.
She says it is possible to turn trash into cash and Kenyans should embrace a culture of conservation and identify opportunities to earn a living and ensure a sustainable environment.
Hivyo ningesi wale wa mama, wale wasichana, hata wale nakutananga na watu wengi wanaomba kazi. Ningewaomba wafanye hii kazi. Hii kazi ni kazi mzuri. It is well paying. Utalisha familia yako, utasomesha watoto wako. Hata kama uko shule, unaweza endelea kusoma na mapato ambayo unapata kwa plastic.
Baikosa chakula, tunakulaga, tunalipa nyumba maana sasa tuko kwa rental houses. Sasa hayo yote ni pesa zote ninapatanga kwa hizo vitu zote ninatoa kwa hii. Baka kulipia watoto school fees.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
It's inspiring. Actually, only goes to show that you can take something that, well, other people don't see it of any value and actually turn it into quite, you know, a good thing, a good maybe business, a good model that can, you know, just like Jedida Kanana can inspire others to follow suit in making something out of something that most people consider negative or quite odd. And on that note, we are going to be taking a short commercial break, but don't go too far because we're going to be back with much more. And for those, of course, sending their feedback on the news via social media platforms, we do appreciate that. And for those following up, also you can do the same on social media platforms on Facebook, KBC Channel 1. You can tweet us at KBC Channel 1 and you can tweet me at Munga_Mbatia. See you shortly.
Mwaka wa 2021 na vitu mpya, vitu mzuri zaidi. Leo tunakupa Oppo A93
na ni rahisi zaidi. Kumbuka unaenda kwenye paybill number, unaekelea paybill number yetu ni 4032353. Kisha unaenda kwenye account, ekelea code ni Oppo, alafu unique number yako. Kisha ni 20 bob peke yake.
Na hivyo ndivyo utakuwa umekelea bid kwenye quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya nini? Chini kwa chini.
Chini kwa chini.
Jiunga na Quickbid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. Quickbid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
If you're a horrible single, you make for a horrible married person.
Yes, that's true. Work on yourself and start today.
before you get married.
What you give out will definitely be a point of attraction towards you.
The only person who can love you is you.
People will carry you the way you show up. They'll take you either serious or as a joker with you.
Next on.
The only empress here. And I'm not letting that power go no matter what. You are the heir to that throne, Cesar.
I had to do it, to pluck up courage and do what I've wanted to for years.
No. But I got tired and fed up. I have nothing else to give you. I have absolutely nothing else.
It's the owner of El Paraíso, since your father administered it, as Mauro Montesinos, and Max is his son.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
You know is that you shouldn't believe everything my father says to you.
Okay, so now you're denying there was a transaction between you and Flavia?
Does she have to ask someone for money behind my back? Been with them through everything.
I don't consider myself their mother.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that you know your place.
I have to confess something. It's about the earring your mom lost.
I have to tell you, it's extremely important.
You disobeyed me!
I'm sorry, Uncle. I'm sorry. I swear, I'm sorry.
Welcome back. And to other matters, tourism stakeholders are calling on the government to ratify the Underwater Heritage Convention in efforts to enjoy monetary support from UNESCO. This comes as the Ministry of Tourism has launched a campaign to promote conference tourism in a bid to revive the industry, which took quite a beating from the COVID-19 pandemic.
The government has started a campaign to promote conference tourism in major towns across the country as a way of reviving the industry. Through the Kenya National Convention Bureau, business tourism is expected to grow revenues through its backward linkage to other sports sectors such as transport, hospitality, agriculture, financial services, among others.
Regions are fantastic locations and avenues to hold meetings because they combine nature, outdoor activity, and then you're able to have a business meeting at the backdrop of this beautiful country. And working with the private sector and public sector organizations, we'll be able to coordinate all the MICE activities on behalf of the government under the Ministry of Tourism.
We want to see the Kenyan people, the counties, actually come out and display their wealth, display what they have as a county. I'm from the private sector. Obviously, from private sector, we work alongside government. They make the policy, we do the business, and so we have a very good partnership in that arena.
According to the Kenya National Convention Bureau Coordinator Jacinta Nzioka, the ministry projects an increase in international conferences and business meetings in the future. Elsewhere, stakeholders in the tourism industry are pushing for the ratification of the Underwater Heritage Convention. They argue that this will protect the country's rich underwater heritage that includes 40 shipwrecks and other artifacts. According to the Kenya National Commission for UNESCO Secretary General Dr. Angeline Joka, it will also open up opportunities for Kenya to enjoy monetary support from UNESCO.
It shouldn't take a lot of time. And I think all stakeholders are in agreement that we really need to move fast to ratify this convention and also the other unratified conventions.
Hiyo ita attract tourists na watakuja kwa wengi hapa kwetu. Hata itakuwa mafunzo ama ni tools of educating our children, wajue mahali tulimetoka na hii dunia ilikuwa wapi na ilikuwa inaelekea wapi wakati ule.
The UNESCO Convention on the Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage, adopted in 2001, is intended to enable states to better protect their submerged cultural heritage. Yusufar, Channel 1 News.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers is calling for the strengthening of student councils and open communication channels to tackle the problem of indiscipline in schools. Also, a peace pact between communities living along the Kenya-Uganda border has been reached that will put an end to the perennial water conflict. More details in the county briefs.
The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers in Nakuru County held their branch elections ahead of the national elections. It is here that the union's chairman, Omboko Milemba, cautioned against reintroduction of caning in schools, instead calling for improved communication channels between teachers and students to reduce incidents of unrest in schools.
What we need to do is to have continuous communication between the parents, the teachers and the students. Strengthen the students' councils and let the student council leadership report to the principals on a daily basis about the challenges facing the student. And also increase the concern that the teachers have for the students. And above all, let the parents help the teachers in dealing with the discipline. I don't think return of the cane is a panacea to the challenge we are having. The cane was actually banned in 2001, and that is in the Act, and therefore it would be illegal to ask teachers to cane students now.
At the same time, he has dismissed calls to have teachers obtain a certificate of good conduct before they can be allowed to teach. Separately, a peace pact has been reached between Kenya and Uganda to end the perennial conflict over water. In the deal, communities living along the border will access water from a dam that is under construction in West Pokot, Kasai, and Forore in Marsabit counties. Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Omalo says that the government is committed to finding a permanent solution to address the perennial drought in the northeastern region.
Ajili ya amani kati yenu na majirani zenu. Maendeleo tunayopanga haya maji, shule tunayopanga, bila amani hatuwezi kuwa na maendeleo. Na hii ndio jambo nataka tuhimize jamii zetu za mpakani. Tuweze kuhimiza amani, tuishi kwa amani na majirani zetu, ili maendeleo kutoka serikali kuu, serikali ya county yaweze kuendelea hapa kwenu.
Elsewhere, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munga has okayed deep-sea fishing for local fishermen in the coastal region. This follows the accreditation of 3 vessels that will operate in Mombasa, Kilifi and Lamu, alongside 2 modern boats that will operate in Lamu and the county of Tana River.
Kwa hiyo hii facility ni ya kuhakikisha kuna value addition processing imefanywa hapa, taxes imelipwa hapa, ajira imebaki hapa, na pia tumepata pesa za kigeni kutokana na uuzaji wa hiyo fish ikiwa process kule nje ya Kenya.
Meanwhile, in Ugunja, Siaya County, the chairman of the Kenya Medical Training College, Professor Philip Kaloki, has urged learners to enroll in primary healthcare courses. Kaloki says this will equip them to help communities to curb the spread of diseases, one of the parameters in the attainment of the universal health coverage.
Tungetaka tuwe na nafasi ya wanafunzi wenu, watoto wenu kutoka sehemu hii, ili wajiunge hapa. Mnajua KMTC ni moja, na tunataka kwanza tupatie nyinyi consideration. Wale wengi watoke hapa.
And in Nyandarua County, the government is training farmers on proper utilization of dams and water pans for irrigation to aid food security. Water and Sanitation Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki on a tour of Olkalao and Milangene sub-counties says the ongoing program is aimed at empowering farmers to venture into agribusiness.
Miradi ambayo tunaweka kwa kaunti yoyote ile ya mambo ya unyunyiziaji maji huwa iko na component ya capacity building ama kufundisha beneficiaries. Kwa hivyo hii pia Mombi Dam, wakaaji hapa wakulima tutaanza kuwafundisha ndio watoke kwa ile kilimo ya kawaida waingilie mambo ya kilimo biashara. Hiyo ndio itafaidi mambo ya food security. Hii ndio pia itaweza kuwafaidi kwa kulima na productivity ile mazao yao wakizalisha itaweza kurudishia, kwa hivyo economic empowerment itakuwa pale vile.
Now, internationally, the ex-head of the European Central Bank, Mario Draghi, has been sworn in as Italy's next Prime Minister. Draghi put together a unity government comprising of the main political parties following the collapse of the previous administration last month.
After receiving the support of the largest group in parliament, the Five Star Movement, Draghi now has backing across the broad political spectrum. It means he will have a large enough majority to push through his agenda. He has already named a cabinet. A senior figure in the Five Star Movement, Luigi Di Maio, will stay on as foreign minister. Giancarlo Giorgetti, a senior figure in the populist far-right League Party, will be industry minister. Andrea Orlando from the center-left Democratic Party will be Labour minister. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's insurrection incitement charge is a monstrous lie, defense lawyers said as they presented evidence in the U.S. Senate. Lawyer Michael Van Deer called impeachment proceedings against the former president a politically motivated witch hunt by the Democrats. Trump is accused of causing riots in the Capitol on the 6th of January, which left 5 people dead. Elsewhere, a new trial is set to test how well the Oxford-AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine works in children. The vaccine is one of 2 being used to protect against serious illness and death from COVID-19 in the UK, along with the Pfizer-BioNTech jab. There were no plans for children to be vaccinated with the Oxford-AstraZeneca jab in the UK, as it has only been authorized to prevent COVID in people aged 18 or over. 300 volunteers will take part, with the first vaccinations in the trial taking place later in February.
Ili kupata skiza tune ya mapenzi ni jina tu kwa simu yako, bonyeza alama ya nyota 811 alama ya nyota 398 alama ya reli.
Mapenzi ni jina tu, lakini mtu anaweza kulipa maana. Inaweza kuwa mpenzi wako, jamaa, rafiki, mfanyikazi mwenzako, jirani. Unaweza kupata mapenzi kutoka kwa mtu yoyote. Chagua kueneza upendo na muhimu, jipe zaidi.
Ukitaka kupata skiza hii, bonyeza alama ya nyota 811 alama ya nyota 398 alama ya reli. Alama ya nyota 811 alama ya nyota 398 alama ya reli.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
I was held captive for 12 years.
Subject to escape, but someone in the building.
Now, humans hunt the lichens and vampires. This is a new war.
We stand and we fight.
Whatever it is, it's more powerful than any of us.
The stage is set for the next football star from Africa to emerge at the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations. Watch all the games live on KBC Channel 1 as 12 countries battle out for the ultimate prize of becoming champions of Africa. Raw talent, raw skills, ultimate technique. From Africa's finest uncapped talent, witness footballing dreams come alive at the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations from 14th of February to 6th of March 2021. Live from Mauritania and exclusively on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Now let's have a look at today's sports, whereby Sheila Chelangat from National Police and 10,000 meters Commonwealth bronze medalist Rogers Grimoy, this year's national cross-country champions, after seeing off stiff competition today at the Ngong Racecourse in Nairobi. A total of 42 athletes were selected by Athletics Kenya to represent Kenya at the Africa Cross-Country Championship that is slated for 7th March in Lome, Togo. Chellangat, who successfully defended a national title, was in control of the race from gunpoint, seeing off stiff competition from former world steeplechase champion Harvin Kiyeng and Daisy Cherotich to cross the finish line in a time of 34 minutes 55.5 seconds. Cherotich came second in 35 minutes 2 seconds, while world marathon champion Ruth Chemgetich completed the podium dash.
Nashukuru Mungu kwanza kwa kunipa hii ushindi ya namba 3. Mimi ni marathona, so nilikuwa najaribu tu nipushiwe kwa speed.
Roger Squamoy dethroned KDF's Kibiwot Kandie to the national title after outsprinting him in the final lap, cutting the tape in 31 minutes 3 seconds, followed by Kandie and Southrift's Edwin Bett, who came in second and third respectively. A total of 42 athletes were selected by Athletics Kenya to represent the country at the Africa Cross Country Championship slated for the 7th of March in Lome, Togo.
Nilikuwa nifanya mazoezi ya kutosha. Nikitarajia mazuri. Hata nikijiandaa kwenda Togo, taenda kung'ang'ana nilete gold kwa country yetu.
Australia-based Preston Bungay, France-based Joel Awich and talented guard Tyler Curry are among foreign-based players named in the final 12-man Kenya Moran squad ahead of the second round of the Group B FIBA Afro-Basketball Championship qualifying matches that are set for the 19th till the 21st of this month in Yaoundé, Cameroon.
After failing to play a single match during the first round of the qualifying matches in Rwanda, Preston Bungay is expected to lead Kenya's quest for a qualification slot in Cameroon. Bungay will team up with veteran player Griffin Ligare, Ariel Okal, Victor Electric Ochieng, Valentine Nyakinda and Tom Bushwa Mukota, who are also named in the 12-man squad. Kenya Morans will take on Senegal, Angola and Mozambique. The top 3 nations from 5 pools will qualify for the FIBA 2021 Afro-Basket Championship that will take place in Rwanda from 24th of August to the 5th of September. Karanja David for Channel 1 Sports.
And in other matters, the Kenya national badminton team will kickstart the journey to qualifying for the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Uganda, and they take part in the Uganda International Tournament later this month. The Commonwealth Games will be held in Birmingham, UK from the 28th of July to August 8th, 2022.
The Kenya Badminton Federation has held 2 competitions since January this year to select players who will do duty for Kenya in Kampala. The competitions were the Kenya Open National Tournament as well as the National Trials, where top players were tested and pushed to the limit. 18 Kenyan players will take part in the Uganda International Tournament.
For my membership, for example, here, fully and not have to worry about it, I'm able to pay for the gym, an instructor, so it's really changed a lot when it comes to my training.
The Uganda tournament is crucial to Kenyan players as it is the first tournament towards qualification for the Commonwealth Games.
Team of around 10 players. So it is a big thing going to Uganda and coming back with a victory because we know itatusaidia mahali uko mbele for the Commonwealth qualification.
We need minimum 4 weeks to prepare for such kind of a tournament. Okay, now in that manner, I can only train the players in being accurate and training them on power and also some part of psychology so that they can be stronger.
The players will take part in 4 categories: the men and women singles, the women doubles and the mixed doubles. Karanja David for Channel 1 Sport.
Newly promoted Rift Valley Prisons men's volleyball team has stepped up training ahead of the second leg of the Kenya Volleyball Federation League slated for the 27th till the 28th of this month. The team is currently training under the watchful eye of veteran tactician David Lungaho.
Rift Valley Prisons men's volleyball team was formed in 2019 and joined the league in 2020, but did not take part in the league due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The team is managed by the Regional Command of Prisons in Rift Valley, led by Assistant Commissioner of Prisons Barnabas Keino. The team has set base in Eldoret so as to tap talent from the region that is known for producing talented volleyball players. The team is currently training under the watchful eye of veteran tactician David Lungaho.
There are very many young players who are talented. I believe the future of volleyball in Kenya this team. Rift Valley is not always the bedrock of talent in volleyball. And by us starting this team, it is our mission to try and tap most of the talents that are around here.
Rift Valley Prisons currently has 26 players drawn from different prison stations in the region. Karanja David for Channel 1 Sport.
The Utah Jazz and the Los Angeles Lakers continued their fine form this season, with each recording impressive wins earlier today. The Utah Jazz underlined their title credentials with a 129-115 victory over the Milwaukee Bucks, while the Lakers came from a 20-point deficit to beat the Memphis Grizzlies by 115 to 105 points for a 7th successive victory, which is only bettered by Utah, who won the 11th straight game. In other matches, Los Angeles Clippers were 125 to 106 winners over the Chicago Bulls, while Carmelo Anthony scored 23 points to help the Portland Trail Blazers win 129 to 110 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Anthony Davis bagged 35 points and 9 rebounds as the Los Angeles Lakers extended their winning streak to 7 games with a 115-105 victory over the visiting Memphis Grizzlies. Davis, who returned after a 2-game absence with Achilles soreness, made 16 of 27 shots from the floor as the Lakers rallied from an early 20-point deficit to prevail.
AB, little stutter step, gonna turn, spin, free throw line, nicely done. A tree, Coach Bud, he was with for a couple of us.
LeBron James had 28 points, 9 rebounds and 8 assists, while Kyle Kuzma contributed 20 points and 10 rebounds, 5 of those on the offensive end. Montrezl Harrell had 14 points and 7 rebounds in 16 minutes.
You can't play much, you can't play many mistake possessions throughout the course of the game in order to get back into the game. So, it raises our attentive level back up. We also know we got to be, I don't want to say perfect because you're never going to be perfect, but you got to be as close to perfect as possible to get back into the game. And we're playing against some really good players and teams as well, no matter the record. Teams, find a way to be motivated versus us, and we understand it. So, but it's good to have those moments where you're out on the floor and you have to execute offensively, you have to execute defensively, and make the most of that very own possession.
It's going to take a little bit of time to feel out, how, what their defensive style is. But we got to be better with our pressure release and all the things we do to counter their pressure. We didn't do any of it in the first quarter, so that put us on our heels a little bit defensively and got off to a slow start. But after that, we kind of settled in. Didn't panic. This team over the last couple games, after some slow starts, hasn't panicked. Understand it's a long game, and you just focus on our execution, and we were able to turn it around.
Grayson Allen scored 23 points, and Jonas Valanciunas and Jeremy Morant each scored 22 points for the Grizzlies, who have dropped 5 of their last 6 contests, with Morant dishing out 10 assists. Meanwhile, the Utah Jazz underlined their title credentials with their 129-115 victory over the Milwaukee Bucks, a win that featured 4 players scoring at least 25 points for the in-form NBA leaders.
The ball handler, Joe with 9 points. He knocked down 5 threes. Here's again to... Oh, my goodness! The big fella teaming up with Joe Ingles.
Utah earned its 17th victory in 18 games, with Rudy Gobert and Joe Ingles each scoring 27 points to lead the Jazz, who have now recorded a franchise-best 21-5 start to the season. Giannis Antetokounmpo tallied 29 points, 15 rebounds and 6 assists, 2 blocks and 2 steals, but the Bucks dropped their second game in a row. Brook Lopez added 23 points, Chris Middleton had 18, Bobby Portis 15 and DJ Augustin 12 points.
Effort and communication, whether it was George, Royce, JC, Joe, the bigs, Fave and Rudy. But that's really what's helping us, communicating. And then on top of that, when you're playing with each other for so long, you start to see tendencies. You understand how guys like to guard. You understand where we're supposed to be in help situations. So the comfortability definitely helps too. But, we've all improved, defensively. And I think that's really where our mindset's at. And it doesn't, like I always say, it doesn't hurt when you have Rudy and Fave down there to kind of make things tougher, if we do make a mistake. And the best thing about the defensive end is we just have each other's back every time.
The Jazz have beaten the Bucks both times this season, and both by double digits, losing only 1 game since their January 8th victory in Milwaukee started a run of 11 straight wins. Also, Leicester City scored 3 goals in 7 second-half minutes as another Alisson mistake contributed to a 3-1 defeat for Liverpool at the King Power Stadium. The Premier League champions took control of the game in the 67th minute when Mohamed Salah scored. James Maddison levelled before Jamie Vardy netted a second after a lapse in communication between goalkeeper Alisson and new signing Ozaka Bak. Harvey Barnes compounded Liverpool's misery with the goal taken third in the 85th minute as Leicester City moved up to second on the table ahead of weekend's remaining fixtures, with the visitors still fourth, 10 points behind leaders Manchester City, having played 2 more games.
Roberto Firmino, lovely touch. Salah places it brilliantly. That's outstanding from Liverpool. The little touch from Roberto Firmino was world class, and the finish from Mo Salah absolutely clinical. Maddison whips it in low all the way through and in. Well, they pay the penalty anyway. And James Maddison celebrates his 10th goal of the season, fizzed in the free kick. Maddison's covered, didn't get there. Vardy's got an open goal. It's an absolute catastrophe, and it's in by Vardy. It's the new man, Ozan Kabak, colliding with Alisson. Again, it's Barnes who's in behind. Harvey Barnes, 3-1. Well, Leicester City now are putting their foot on the pedal and pulling away from the champions.
Actually, game currently ongoing. EPL leaders Manchester City taking on Tottenham. The game is in the 68th minute. Manchester City 3-0 up, courtesy of goals from, Rodri, and then 2 other goals from Ilkay Gundogan. And now, elsewhere, 20-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal will take on Italy's Fabio Fognini in the 4th round of this year's Australian Open after the Spaniard beat 69th-ranked Cameron Norrie in sets of 7-5, 6-2, 7-5 on an empty Rod Laver Arena. In another match, Daniil Medvedev won a 5-set match for the first time in his career as the 4th seed beat Filip Krajinovic 3-6, 6-3, 6-3, 4-6, 3-6 and 6-love, surviving a scare which saw a mid-match bust-up that led to his coach walking out. Cameron Norrie claimed the fast break of the...
Today, just warming up with the normal movement. So, of course, I didn't serve bad. I can do better, I think, and I'm looking forward to do it better now. It's been an important victory for me. And the biggest victory is the back is better for the first day, so that's the most important thing.
Norrie was the last Briton standing in the singles for a 2nd Grand Slam in a row after he reached that round of the US Open in September.
I think I played okay, and I was just a little bit disappointed with a couple of some execution, especially in the first set, and he didn't really have to work too hard to get that first set, and then I did well to hang in there in the 3rd, but all credit to him. He was just pretty proactive on his service games, and it was just a couple loose errors, and I was right in there in the match, but it was just a bit disappointing with just some loose errors there.
Australian Alex de Minaur 6-4, 6-3, 6-4. Meanwhile, Daniil Medvedev won a 5-set match for the first time in his career as the 4th seed survived a scare which saw mid-match bust-up that led to his coach walking out. The Russian, who extends his winning streak to 17 matches, including his success... on weekend with me, Richard Munga. Sign language interpreter has been Byron Abuli. And just to mention, Gor Mahia is taking on Napster Stars tomorrow in a CAF Confederation match, playoff first leg. And there was a fake circular going around that the government had allowed 9,000 fans into the stadium. That is not true. So for those who are planning on maybe going out to see that match, fans are still not allowed to go watch matches in the stadium. Well, thank you very much for your time, and please do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Have a good night.
A very good evening to you wherever you're watching us from. My name is Yusuf Farah. Thank you for keeping it Channel 1. Time now for your Channel 1 with updates, where tonight temperatures drop to 13 degrees Celsius in Eldoret, making it the coldest in the country. Rainfall is expected in the highlands east and west of the Rift Valley region, and the same conditions will be experienced in the capital city, Nairobi, and its environs. Tomorrow morning, we'll be waking up to rains accompanied by sunny intervals in areas of Meru, Nyeri, and Nairobi. Contrary to yesterday, where in the morning there were rains accompanied by sunny intervals. Sunny intervals in the coastal region. Areas of Kisumu will also have sunny intervals. The longest sunshine in the northeastern region, and the same will be experienced in areas of Lodwar. In the afternoon, Kisii, Kericho, Narok, and Kakamega will have showers accompanied by thunderstorms. Remember to keep warm in that area. Areas of the capital city, partly cloudy conditions with sunny intervals and slight rains. There will be sunny intervals in areas of the coastal region, the northeastern region. Garissa, Mandera, Isiolo, and Wajir continue to have sunny intervals, and the same in areas of Lodwar all the way to the Lake Turkana Basin and areas bordering Kenya and South Sudan. As far as the temperatures are concerned, highs of 36, lows of 23 in Mandera. Lamu, highs of 31, lows of 25, and Voi, highs of 32 and lows of 21. That's all we had for you on Channel 1 with the focus. Until I see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Do have yourselves a lovely night.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika, and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET approved institution? We offer courses in